Here comes the next small problem, and it's mainly the machines that are causing me issues. I was trying to sift out some material. We have a sand pile here, but it can contain a few rocks. I was gonna prepare the road just from the house up to the garage, the workshop, and we've had some heavy rainfalls this summer, and it's eroded away some of the material. It's mainly been filled with sand over the years, so it's not very good, and it tends to erode away quite quickly. I have a pile of stones right next to it. As I was gonna switch out to the bucket, I tried activating the lock for the bucket, and it wouldn't disengage, and then I started seeing oil dripping down. But since I was close to the workshop, I decided to just make a run for it and get it up there right away. Made it up there, and then I just quickly parked it and ran to get the catch pan and put under there, because it had filled up the cavity where the cylinder for the bucket lock sits, and it was kept dripping out of that. I think I was able to catch most of the oil. The spill wasn't that big, a couple of liters, and most of it was actually caught by the catch pan. Had prepared a space for it to get it under a roof before starting to wrench on it. Undid the hoses connecting to it. I figured one of the hoses inside there connecting to the cylinder was bad. I've been in here before. If you've seen my previous videos, one of those plastic indicator pins wanted to come undone, and that was sorted in a previous video. So I think it's 6 or 8 bolts holding this. There's like a two-part to this lid. A bit annoying with the bucket in the way to have to climb in and out while wrenching, but that will be sorted in a little bit. The smaller half of the lid undone where the hoses connect, and it can be lifted up, but the hoses underneath needs to be disconnected. Here the damage on the hydraulic hose can be seen. I will try to sort something out to reduce the wear on this when installing the new hose. I'm not entirely sure if this circuit gets pressurized, how it's hooked up at some point, since it's the bucket, but rather than try to find out, I sorted out 2 plugs and plugged them before starting the machine. Lifted the bucket up to relieve any pressure on the pin, make it easier to push the cylinder in a better working height. Notice some oil spraying out of the loose connection, so we put a rag over the ends of the hose to catch the oil. We knew we were gonna lose a little more, forcing the cylinder in to disconnect the bucket before reassembly. Took a bit of tapping back and forth, and I held against one side and my dad kept tapping the other, and slowly it retracted. Time to undo the old hoses. I think this is something special done, because it had something on here. I think they've used this function for something more in the past, but I'm just using it as a bucket lock. I know we had some leak there, and they had a few extra connections and an outlet and a few things that were just removed. So might not be what it originally looked like on a wheel loader like this, but it needs to come undone. Both hoses loosened. That part of the lid could be lifted out of the way, and you see the hoses sticking up here. And I'm totally blocking the view, but the pins holding the actual lock pins to the cylinder themselves, they are just held in place by gravity, and that the lid is on there, you can just be lifted out. So both of them pins were lifted out, and then the big lock pins themselves, they can just be pushed out of the way, and the entire cylinder assembly can be lifted out for cleanup and replacing the hoses. came out as an oily mess because it was kind of filled with oil in there after the leak. An old towel was shoved in there to start soaking up the oil. The old hoses were removed. I replaced both of them while I was in there, even if it was just one leaking. They are both kind of rusty and stiff in the connections, so I figured it was better to do them both while I was in there. And some rough cleanup, scraping off some old dirt. This hydraulic cylinder lives a hard life inside that box, and over time dirt and stuff gets in there. My dad cleaned up the cylinder while I worked on the inside of the housing for it. New hoses could start going on there. They seem to have been in there a long time before this rubbing did any damage, so I'm not gonna change how they are routed or anything, not a lot at least. And things can start going back together. Cleaned hydraulic cylinder and new hoses, and starting lifting it in place. Hoses has to be pushed in there and come back up through these holes to connect to the junction in that cover plate. Hooking up the hoses to the cover plate, the threads on there felt easier than the ones on the hydraulic cylinder. Here you can see the big lock pin is pushed in and just lines up with the hole on the hydraulic cylinder. And then this pin with the red marker at the top, this left side from inside the machine, that's the one I by force connected to the top of the pin because it kept coming undone and being loose in the past, so that causes a bit of an issue now getting the lid in place, but it's not too bad. It's kind of forcing it down a little and bending up the plastic to get it to come out of the lid and stay in place. It was well worth not having it come undone all the time that it was doing in the past. If you have that problem, find my previous video regarding this JCB wheel loader. I think I have a playlist for the different machines. Time to remove the plugs I installed earlier and start hooking up the hydraulics. And I thought I had the order of them figured out. I did not. Here you can see the other side, the lock pin itself being slid into place to connect back up onto the hydraulic cylinder. And then the pin could slide into place. Wanted to start it and test run it before closing this up fully.
Han går ju ut. Har vi kopplat fel?
And that was me saying that we had not connected the hoses up correctly. It's moving the wrong direction when giving order. Luckily it's not that big of a deal doing it here because it's easy access, other than spraying a tiny bit of oil and then swapping the two hoses around. That solved that problem. And here I took a little piece of some leftover hose and slid that open to slide it onto the hydraulic hose, and hopefully that will take up a little bit of wear over time and it will last longer. Yeah, some zip ties holding that in place. Let's hope it stays there. It was started again to do another test and see if it rubs against anything before putting it together. And the other hose also seems to rub a little. Missed recording installing that other little piece of rubber, like 10 centimeters long, 4 inches for you Yankee Doodles, or bananas some call it. But that's just a tiny little protection and hopefully prolong the life of this set of hoses. Next time it will probably be the hydraulic cylinder needing repacking or replacement. But then the lid could be tightened up and the fix is done. I did not end up recording anything where we were trying to smooth out and fill up some of the washout with a little bit of sand to reduce the amount of crushed rock that we are gonna put on that path and hopefully reduce erosion in the future. I do have a rock quarry where material can be purchased not too far away, so the old truck was used. We bought 4 truckloads on this one. It does not carry a whole lot compared to a modern truck. And the material was spread out. This is the last load, so there is already some material down here, but we are thickening up a little the last section and filling up all the way. We have kind of a little hump where we have an open area next to the workshop, and that one is made to kind of force water off to the side and not follow the road, but that little bump has flooded this summer during some heavy rain, and that caused the erosion. Hopefully this crushed gravel will last a lot better. And with that all spread out, even if there is some inconsistency and a few little humps here and there, I will leave you with me running the wheel loader like a happy amateur for a couple of minutes, trying to smooth this out and run back and forth on it and kind of start compacting it, because I don't have a compactor of any kind yet. No, I don't think I will need that. Well, maybe, I'm not gonna say never. If one comes up for cheap with a trusty old Deutsch diesel engine, I wouldn't be against it. That's it for this video. Hope everyone is having an amazing day. Hope it helps someone out. Thanks for watching.